Welcome to Scoop World Order. The Buckeyes have found their bowl opponent. The Missouri Tigers will be facing off against the Bucks on the 29th in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. So, as fun as projections are, I didn't see any projections that had that matchup. I saw a lot of Louisville, Ohio State, but when Florida State got left out, everything was up for grabs. So, kind of a surprising day in the college football playoff committee. So, we're going to get into all of that and break some of that down. But first, as always, we're very thankful. We're grateful for you guys tuning in. It's Sunday. I know there's a lot of NFL games going on, so I just figured I'd jump on here real quick and give my thoughts on the playoffs. Again, it's been a wild ride for the Buckeyes, to say the least, with us having basically a 6-point loss versus the number one team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, costing us the playoffs completely. Again, I don't know what to make of the playoffs. The playoff committee. Thank God this is the last year of the 4-team playoff. The 4-team playoff, thankfully, is done. We'll have a 12 team. So next year, we'll actually be playing in the real dance. And it'll be way better because we're not going to have to, deal with something like this. I mean, literally, that 6-point loss, which, we had a couple turnovers. We had the pick six that McCord threw early, which basically gave him 6 free points. It cost us the 1 seed in the playoffs, which is crazy to say out loud, but that's kind of where we're at. It's disappointing. It's sad. I think that obviously there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to sit out this bowl game. Marvin, I'm sure, Emeka, Trey, those guys are all declared for the draft and likely be out. But it'll be interesting to see who we play at quarterback. I've heard a lot of buzz. I'm not going to get into it too much, but pay attention to BuckeyesScoop.com the next couple of days because there's a lot of rumblings going on about us talking to the current quarterbacks, us going after some of these high-level transfer portal guys. I don't think Ryan Day's happy with the quarterback play. I know Kyle McCord was third team All Big Ten. He's got a couple of years left, but something just seems amiss, and I've got really good sources on this. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on over the next 2 to 3 days with guys entering the portal. I expect numerous Ohio State Buckeyes to enter the portal tomorrow. There's already been guys that have unofficially entered, but tomorrow's the first day to actually enter. And then I'm sure it'll be Christmas shopping for the Bucs. I mean, we got to go get some. We need some guards. We need some D tackles. Potentially need 2 new DNs. So it's kind of hard watching Jared Verse from Florida State, who's an Ohio kid, tear it up last night, and we didn't get him as part of our program. But I'd love your thoughts. If you guys have any questions, you could hit the super chat, and I'll answer those right away. A 404 Buckeye. I mean, I know that we've reached out to Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy is a kid that has a lot of talent, and he's a kid that probably thought he'd be potentially starting next year. He probably figured Quinn would be 3 and out, but Quinn Ewers is staying for his senior year. They know that they need to get, he's got 20 starts, and that's kind of like that Mitch Trubisky area where you're not really ready for the league. So another full year of being in college and grasping the system. And, again, like it's not as much of a sacrifice as it used to be because, he's going to get paid. He'll make, $3, $4, $5 million to stay in college next year and be the quarterback of the Texas Longhorns. They'll probably be, they're not preseason number 1. They'll be top 2 or 3, depending on how they do in this playoffs. But, you look around college football, I mean, he's back and he's probably going to be the best quarterback in the country. He'll be the preseason Heisman favorite, preseason number 1 overall draft favorite. If he stays for another year, he dodges Caleb Williams and Drake May. So I think it makes total sense for him to stay. I just wish it was in scarlet and gray, but it is not. But we, it's going to be interesting to see how jacked up these guys are to play Missouri. Again, it's hard when your ambition is to win the national championship every year at Ohio State. It's a boiler room for these coaches and for these players, and it's something that they're going to be, they're going to be disappointed. I mean, they lost, and it was weird because all the selection shows that they had on consistently talked about how, game control is important and strength of schedule and, quality wins and, beat Notre Dame on the road, top, 10 matchup. Then you beat, you lose to Michigan by 6 on the road. And it's just amazing because like last year, we were able to get back in the playoffs after we lost by 21 at home. And then this year we ended up finishing, I don't know if we were like 7th or 8th or, after 5, 6, it's like, who cares? But we finished way out of the money this year in a year where I thought we had a more compelling case. Now, we weren't as talented offensively, but we were much better defensively. So, I think that if you really want to boil it down to the 4 best teams right now, I mean, I think we're right there with Bama. We're right there with Georgia. I didn't think Georgia, it cost them that they played such a weak schedule, and then they lose, by 3 to Alabama in the SEC championship, and they're out of the money too after being, wire to wire number one all year. So I think it'll be fascinating. In the chat, I just want to hear you guys. How excited are you for the Cotton Bowl? Is this just another ho hum also ran? And how excited are you for the 12-team playoff? Because I think that next year, like, there's going to be a whole different energy around Ohio State and Columbus because we're going to be in the dance. Like, I mean, we're basically always going to be in the dance going forward because I think that with the level that we recruit at and the level we play at, and how strong our schedule is about to be, because guys, Washington, we basically have two Big Ten teams in the dance because Washington is joining the Big Ten next year, which is crazy, and Oregon and USC and UCLA. So basically, the top two schools are Big Ten schools now. So that'll be a cataclysmic shift where, for so many years it was Michigan and Ohio State kind of leading the charge in the Big Ten. Now there's going to be, there are going to be 4, 5, 6 teams that can win it. Penn State, Washington, SC, Oregon. I mean, those are all legitimate squads. So, yeah, I don't know. I've heard mixed things on Kyle at this point. I'm going to leave it at that. I've kind of been sworn to secrecy, but it'll be interesting to see who starts, if it's a competition at quarterback. Again, it's gonna be real interesting because there's gonna be a lot of guys that aren't gonna play in this game. Like Marvin won't play, Emeka's not gonna play, Trey's not gonna play. They haven't formally announced it, but I've been shocked, and I would be beyond shocked if that's what it was. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm gonna take some of your questions here because Nevada is traveling right now, so I'm a one-man band. So I appreciate you guys kicking it with us. So you guys can super chat to cut the line, or you can just start firing away with questions. I'd love to know how excited you are about this game. And how excited were you, or how surprised were you that Alabama got in? And I was talking to Nevada about it a little bit, and I was like, I think that it was a situation with Florida State where they really had to really put it on Louisville last night, and they did not do that. They didn't go for the jugular. Again, like, that's why you see the greatness of a guy like Urban Meyer, who knew that when JT Barrett broke his leg against Michigan and they had to play Cardale versus Wisconsin, like, he had to put it on them, like, big time. Like, there wouldn't be any doubt. There wouldn't be, oh man, you're down to your third string quarterback. If we put you against big bad Alabama, are you guys going to get shell shocked and shellacked? And I think really that's what it came down to with the committee. I think that they watched Brock Glenn last night, and they saw Michigan's defense last night, and they said, well, if we put that kid or even the backup versus Michigan, it's going to be one of those, 35-7 or 35-10 games, and it just isn't going to be great. And people will be saying, well, that's why you got to put Bama in. And plus, I get, why Bama gets in, because the SEC has dominated college football since like 06. And like, to leave out the SEC champion for a team that has a true freshman quarterback, I think would have been tough, And again, I'm not an SEC apologist, but I see the committee. I love it because I want Bama to just absolutely, just dog walk Michigan, because I think Michigan was hoping they'd get Brock Glenn or that backup quarterback. And it's kind of like you essentially have, like, for being in the playoffs, it's almost like a bye week when you play like a backup quarterback. Again, he's not Cardale. He's not that Ohio State team that had Ezekiel and Joey Bosa. So I think that it was really interesting that they went with it. And again, I think it's the right pick. I think that Alabama deserves to be in. They've gotten just demonstrably better week over week. Obviously, they have the best coach of all time, a guy that's won. He's got enough rings to almost fill up two hands. But I think that's going to be interesting. And like I said, I just want to see Michigan lose. Like, I mean, that's all it comes down to for me. Got our first super chat. Thank you, Larry Daniels. Thank you for the 5. I saw the team, the cheaters up north, is -2 favorite against Bama. What do you think? I put a lot of money on Bama. I think that they have a difference maker at quarterback. I think that they're peaking. I think that that Georgia win was a huge win, 29 game winning streak, and they had to do it in Atlanta. So they're basically doing it in the Bulldogs' backyard. That's the benefit to being Georgia's. I mean, those SEC championship games are like home games because you're in Atlanta. I mean, you're an hour-long bus ride away, and everyone else has to fly in. So to beat Georgia in Atlanta is exceptionally difficult to do, and they did it. I think they'll crush it. Washington, Texas, it just smells like a shootout to me. Penix versus Ewers. The 12-team format will be amazing. Honestly, I like these bowl games now where kids, that don't really want to play in them, just flat out don't play in them now. Because you're going to get to see Brandon Ennis. You're going to see Carnell Tate. You're going to get to see kind of the future of it. And like, I talk to people that talk to these young guys. I'm like, look, this is your Super Bowl. Like, I mean, if you go out and ball out, if you go have that Marvin Harrison 3 touchdown game or Jackson Smith and Jigba where he broke the Rose Bowl record, like that propels you into like the upper echelon of NIL deals. It puts you at the top of the draft radar. There's just no downside to playing in it. Again, like if I'm one of these young guys, man, I'm chomping at the bit to get out there and take it serious. And like Missouri is a very winnable game for us. I mean, I think that Missouri is good, but they're not. This isn't drawn King Kong now. I mean, like if we had to play Georgia and in the Orange Bowl, like some people were projecting, that's a little different scenario than playing Mizzou. So I think it'll be exciting. Again, the transfer portal over the next 24 hours is going to be, I think it's going to be very interesting. I've been told a lot of stuff, and some of it I was shocked by, and some of it I was just minorly stunned by. There's some names that'll join the portal that won't surprise anybody. And then there's one or two that would be shocking if they jumped in the portal. But again, I just, I think that Ryan Day wants this QB room to be back to where it was with CJ and at that level. And I don't think it was there. And I think that, Kyle McCord had a nice season. He's the first quarterback in, I think since Braxton Miller in 2012, that wasn't the all Big Ten first team quarterback. So, I mean, he had a nice year, his third team all Big Ten, but like when you've got Marvin and Cade Stover and Emeka, and I know you had Emeka and Trey for just parts of the season, you need to be first team all Big Ten because you have better weapons than anybody and you play basically the same schedule. But, I think that it's going to be interesting. There's some names that are floating around in the transfer portal. I know that Ohio State's very interested in. And I think that there's going to be a chance that we go after some of these guys like hardcore. Like we already went after Cam Ward. Cam Ward turned us down. So, I think that as that kind of shakes out and people are hearing about that, guys are trying to figure out where they stand in the program. And again, at quarterback, it's just such a different beast because there's only one quarterback that plays. This isn't like offensive tackle or guard or center or, where you can move around or play different spots or rotate. Like quarterback's got to go play somewhere. So, again, would I be shocked if Kyle McCord and Devin Brown were both on the roster next spring? Yeah, I think I would be shocked. I think that, there's going to be movement and be interesting to see who else we go after. I got more super chats coming in. Appreciate you guys. I think, the thing about the portal losses, this is a great point by Mac. I'm going to throw this on the screen. I think that it really helps twofold. I think that it helps you clear out some dead wood. There's some guys that you figure out can't play at the level or they're not ready to go at the level. And it also helps you go out and get some of these guys that are under recruited coming out of high school at lesser schools, MAC schools, or like Jimmy Simmons. Jimmy Simmons had a really nice year at left tackle this year. It wasn't great, but he was good. I think he gave up either 0 or 1 sacks on the year. And, like that's a good get. A San Diego State kid that probably should have been at Washington or Oregon or SC. And, we get him here and he's a good athlete. He needs to get much, much stronger, much bigger. But he's got great athleticism, and the more I studied him, a lot of people made a lot of noise about, 26 false starts or whatever it was the year before, but it wasn't that he was like flinching pre-snap, like he couldn't like get the cadence. It was that he was trying to get a jump on the snap, and there's a lot of tackles that do that. And again, the NFL cracked down on it because of Juwan Taylor, the right tackle for the Chiefs. It was awful what he was getting off so early. That was crazy. But these guys, they get used to, they play with the same centers for a long time. They get used to their mannerisms. They can kind of feel when they're about to pull the trigger and snap it, and they got to get off on the mark. Like I played tackle, pretty high level, first team All-American, NFL pick and whatever. And, getting off on the mark, like getting off when the ball moves is really important, especially against guys that are just incredible speed rushers. Like you can't be late, you can't let them get the edge on you right away. So I thought Jimmy, he was good. I don't know if he might have had a couple false starts this year, but he didn't have like, the 26 or whatever he had the year before. So I think we'll go portal shopping. I know that we're focused on DNs, D tackles, interior O-line. There's going to be some names, the kid from Notre Dame for sure. We're going to look at. I think that there's a high chance if we get Jordan Seaton, I think we'll be a little bit more chill. But I think that the right tackle job is going to be open. Josh Fryer is back next year, but Josh Fryer wants to play guard. That's his spot in the NFL. So I think that they're going to facilitate that and move him to right guard next year. So you're going to have him and hopefully Donnie. If Donnie gets terrible advice, he'll leave. But I think if Donnie stays for one more year and dominates, he could go much higher in the draft. So if you can get Josh and Donnie back, that's a pretty good interior with Carson in the middle. Then you got Jimmy at left, and then right tackle is going to be portal guy, or it's going to be Luke Montgomery, or it's going to be if you want to give Jordan Seaton some run to start off. I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think I don't think Michigan. Again, a lot of you guys saw the the video of Michigan reacting to getting Bama, and they did not look very happy with that. I mean, I think pretty much everybody thought it was going to be FSU again, undefeated conference champion. But again, like style points matter, and again, the committee, if they have Jordan Travis, they're probably the 1 seed. But he's out, so when you see Brock Glenn out there throwing for 40 yards or whatever, like that's not going to fly in the eyes of the committee. They don't want to, when you're the committee, you want to get the 4 best teams in, and you want to try to minimize the thought of there being like a blowout, like that first round blowout where it's, honestly, it's kind of like when Georgia played Michigan 2 years ago in the Orange Bowl, and it was just an absolute massacre, or 3 years ago, whatever it was, when like Aiden Hutchinson's year, and those guys came down there talking tough, and then Georgia just dog walked them. So I think, I think again, a lot of these people are picking Bama. I just think Bama, for me, like if I wanted to do something, I like seeing Bama go against those guys, because for me, I want to see Michigan lose. I want to see them get humiliated. I do not want to see them win a national championship. And I feel like if they had gotten Florida State, that's an easy win. And then, if they play Washington or Texas tough, then they got a puncher's chance. But getting Bama the first round, it kind of just, it's kind of like, yeah, we're glad we made it, but we're playing, maybe the most physically talented team in the country with with the best coach in the country. And they're going to be motivated because they're a 4 seed. I mean, the thing that's dangerous about Bama is they gave Nick Saban all the ammunition. They'll say, oh, well, they don't really, they're not sure if you're supposed to be in here or you're supposed to be here because you're an SEC champion, but they put you in as a 4 seed, and some people want Florida State. So he'll have all the ammunition ready to go in terms of just getting those guys jazzed up and ready to smack Michigan. And like for us as an Ohio State fan, I love that, because again, I did not want it to be easy on them, but it was it was pretty amazing. Is OSU NIL up to some major payouts? Mac, this is a great question. I think that it's getting better. Again, I was told by a really good source that they offered Cam Ward $2 million. So that is a ton of money for a kid from Washington State who's a quarterback. And he actually turned it down. So he did not want to play in our system. Also with NIL, do you ever see guys drafted in the NFL who didn't play, come back the following year to college? Once they're paid, their arms. I don't know. That's something that people have talked about. If guys don't get drafted, if they could come back to college and maintain their eligibility, I just don't know how that works. Again, I think what your question is say someone declares for the NFL draft, and then they do not get drafted. Potentially would there ever be a legislation where they can come back to college and still have eligibility? I don't think so. That would get really sketchy, because as soon as you declare for the draft, you're kind of your own country. Like, you're an independent contractor at that point. You're not with Ohio State. You're not with an NFL team. It's kind of a weird situation in your life where you're like a man without a team. So when I was in the draft, I played in the Senior Bowl. I actually tore my knee in the Senior Bowl, and it just crippled my draft stock. I had to get knee surgery literally the day of the Senior Bowl. I couldn't work out for the combine. But it was interesting because, like, when I hurt my knee at the Senior Bowl, you come back to Columbus, and I was gonna have Ohio State's team surgeon do my knee, and they did, but they said, do you have insurance? And like, thankfully, I took out a Cobra policy, because a Cobra policy basically can kind of cover you from the time you're done in college football till the time you're in the NFL, and you have health insurance. But if I didn't have that, I'm paying whatever it costs to get a knee scope. out of my pocket. So, I initially went there, and for some reason, I didn't think Ohio State would cover it, but I tried it, and they said, nope, you're not part of the team anymore. So, get your checkbook out. But I had Cobra that covered it, thank God. Um, but no, it would be. I think it would be good if guys could come back. But I also think that there has to be like a finite like line to allow a kid to come back if he doesn't get drafted. Because again, like once you're like declared, like you're not working out with the team anymore. You're not doing 6 a.m. workouts anymore. Your whole life reverts to getting ready for the combine. So you're working out maybe a little later in the day. You've got a dietitian, kind of the whole 9 yards, and you're not part of the grind. The grind. You're not doing mat drills. You're not doing all the 6 a.m. stuff that the team's doing. So, um, it's interesting. All right, Joe Dram, what is up, brother? Florida State's misery will not be in vain. It is all for the greater good. Bama by 100. I agree. Like, I mean, so like my wife went to Florida State, and like she was disappointed, but I was like, you can't have Brock Glenn as your quarterback and not put one on them. Because that's the thing is with Brock Glenn, like, I mean, stinking it up, that killed him. Like he needed to have that Cardell Jones game where he's thrown it deep. And the thing with Florida State is they have guys that can take it to the crib. Like Keon Coleman's one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the country, and he was just completely, deleted from the game because Brock Glenn was so bad. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we react to this. In the chat, how excited are you guys about this Missouri matchup? I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't think we've played him since the Catson Warrior game where he knocked out Corby Jones. But if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think these games are way tougher than they used to be because you have to really get kids up to play against a team like Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. When your hopes and dreams are being like the one seed again. Like if we score to beat Michigan at the end of that game, we're the 1 seed, and we're getting ready to play Alabama, in the Rose Bowl. Where instead, we don't score, we lose by 6 to Michigan. They're the 1 seed, and then all of a sudden, we're in the Cotton Bowl versus with a team that's gonna have most of the guys declare and sit out the game and whatever. E Buckeye 91, thanks for the 5, appreciate you, my man. Are issues at QB related to coaching or players not panning out? What coaches thought them to be? Love the show, keep up the good work. I appreciate you, my man. I think it's both. Honestly, I think it's the coaching. Obviously, it's been superb. Again, I'm not trying to hate on Ryan Day when he's put Haskins in the league, he put Fields in the league, he put Stroud in the league. But Ryan grates on these guys. Ryan's really tough on these guys, and some of these guys are okay with it. Some of these guys don't love it. But that's Ryan's style, and Ryan's been ultra successful. Again, you watch CJ Stroud on every Sunday and Justin Fields every Sunday. Those are directly due to Ryan Day's tutelage. But I think that we've had some issues. Like I think Kyle McCord is kind of who he is. He's like a guy that I don't think he's ever going to be a franchise NFL guy. And I hope he proves me wrong. But I don't know if he has the ceiling that we're used to with a guy like CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's the best thrower we've ever had in school history. Haskins had a ridiculous arm. Our receivers were good. Something just felt awful here. And again, I'm not trying to bag on Kyle because again, it's a team game, but it's a team game where you have to have a great quarterback. If you don't have a great quarterback, it's really tough to win. You look kind of up and down the playoffs. I mean, those guys all have difference makers. Like and there's varying degrees to it. Like JJ McCarthy, obviously, is a good player. He's a guy that we literally passed on for Kyle McCord, and he's beaten us twice now. I don't know if he's as good of a thrower as Kyle, but he creates and does his thing and works in the frame of their offense and does a nice job. But if you look at the other teams, like Michael Penix, could easily win the Heisman. I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys. He'll beat the Heisman ceremony for sure. Quinn Ewers, I think, is the presumptive number 1 pick. He's the best quarterback in the playoff. And then you got the kid from Bama, who's a speed demon, and you guys know how much we talk about running quarterbacks on our show, and like when Bama needed it the most, Tommy Rees ran him at the very end of the game when they had to ice the game down versus the number 1 team in the country versus Georgia Bulldogs, the best defense in the country. They ran him, and it worked, and he got big chunks of yardage on the key run. Now, again, I always say this: we don't want to do that every play. We don't want to do that half the plays. But when you really need something that can hurt the defense, like they ran their counter play, and he put his foot in the ground and went and got 12 yards basically to ice the game so they could take a knee. So that guy at any given moment can put his foot in the ground and go for 75 yards. And that's just a different level of difficulty that, frankly, I don't know if Michigan State got like that this year. Who's like a true like 4-3 type burner at quarterback. Because that guy touches the ball every single play. So it's a little bit different. What other questions you guys got? Yeah, see, that's this. I was wondering because, like, he said he was caring about the Cotton Bowl, Nicholas. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know what the level is going to be. I mean, I can't imagine that the ticket sales are going to be crazy because, it's nice to support the team, but when you're used to going to the playoffs every year, those playoff tickets they drain your bank account and the flights and the hotels and so when you got a game like Dallas and the Cotton Bowl, like, are the tickets going to be like red hot? I don't think so. I mean, I think Missouri will sell way more tickets than we will. But again, it's a winnable game. The thing I worry about is, how motivated are we going to be versus Missouri? Like Missouri, like, to beat Ohio State in a a New Year's Six bowl game, it puts a big stamp on their program as they've been climbing, kind of slowly climbing up the SEC. Where with us, it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, are we going to have, Brandon Inniss and Carnell Tate starting at receiver? Are we going to be starting Jaden Ballard? What's the O-line going to look like? Is JT Tuimoloau going to sit out? Because potentially, I mean, you could be JT Tuimoloau and Tyreek and Mike Hall. Those guys could all sit. I can't imagine Tommy Eichenberg sitting because I don't think he's a high enough pick. But he is dinged up, and Steele, Denzel Burke could easily sit. So I mean, you're going to see some young dudes out there. I mean, that's the thing is like when you kind of make the mental depth chart of what do you expect to see in that game, it's going to look like a spring ball plus ish type of game. But, I always tell these guys, I'm like, look, you only have so many turns, for Ohio State. And I get why the guys like Marvin and those guys sit, but it is fun to play in a bowl game and win a bowl game. Like we won a few when I played the first three of my career, and it's awesome because, you want to send the seniors out the right way. You want to have them on the podium. Some of these guys have given a lot to the program, guys like Josh Proctor and Tommy Eichenberg. Like, you want to strap it up and go play for those guys, and if you get hurt, then that's just God's will. I mean, this is meant to be. I always tell people, like, if something happens to you in football, it ain't because you did anything wrong. It's all predetermined. And, so you might as well go strap up and go, and again, like if Marvin Harrison could tear out both of his ACLs, he'll still be a top 10 pick. Got another super chat. Appreciate you. I see you, AZ King. Me not like you. I know. I don't know if any people like it because it's just not. It's not like a sexy destination. It's not the Orange Bowl where you could mix in a New Year's Eve party or whatever. I don't know. Matt, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Great show. Thank you so much. It really means a lot when you guys say that. Again, I don't take anything for granted. I know you guys have a lot of places you can watch content, so we really try hard. Again, Nevada. There's a shot Nevada and I are going to go again tonight when he gets home, probably around 10 o'clock Eastern, which is super late. But I want to get his thoughts on this as well. But I want to get on here for you guys. Do you start Devin Brown in the bowl game and see what he can do if we're entertaining QBs in the portal? Well, if he's here, again, that's the hard part is like, I'm hearing, I mean, there's going to be some guys hitting the portal now in the next 2 days. And I mean, he's as hot of a name as there is. And, again, these guys, they want to go somewhere where they can be guaranteed to start. And, I tell people, if you're going to get in the portal, don't go through fall or don't go through bowl practice. Just get in the portal, make sure you have a landing spot. That's the most important part about the portal is that, the thing people don't realize is there's a lot more people that get in the portal than get out of the portal. They end up getting in there, and then they end up getting stuck and, they basically don't have a home. And it's one of the sad kind of underbellies to the portal is that, all of a sudden, like you go in there and you're like, oh, I'm going to land somewhere and there's no room at the inn, So, I tell these guys, I'm like, look, if you're going, make sure that you've got a place to land. Don't just go, then all of a sudden they say, oh, sorry, this guy entered the portal and he was higher on our board than you. Cause that's the tricky part about the portals. You might say, oh, I'm the number 2 rated quarterback. And then 10 more quarterbacks jump out that are better than you and more desirable than you. And then all of a sudden you don't get to land at one of your spots. And I'm not saying that'd be Devin Brown cause I think he's too highly rated, but some of these mid-tier to lower tier guys that are Ohio State guys that jump in the portal, like maybe nobody wants you. So, again, I'm telling you, like the tampering is unbelievable right now, but it's just part of the game. And, if it's good for the goose, good for the gander. I mean, hey, just make sure that you have a soft place to land if you're going to leave Ohio State, because Ohio State is a great place. Again, if you if you never play here, you're still gonna have, your degree, a good network. And that sounds like cliche, but like I live it, and it's really it's just a testimony that if you do the right things and you meet the right people, like your life can be perfectly fine if you never play a snap of football. Again, like I look at like a kid like Cam Babb, towards ACL twice, two-time captain, just a great kid, and he's doing really good things for Ohio State, working for the school now. And like if you do the right stuff, you're a good kid, you'll be in good shape. Sergio Sama, thank you for the 5. Kirk, can we do away with the love conquers all and dancing BS? Oh my God, you're speaking to my heart, Sergio. I appreciate you, my man. Also, if McPlug, there's another Honda McCord and McPlug was on another team, we would not be scared at all. Can's feet, is that dance feet? Oh, canoe feet. I like that. Um, I don't like the dancing. I don't like love conquers all. But that's Ryan's thing. It's his program. Again, I wasn't about love. I was about hate and anger. And like when I was playing, it was like you go watch Tom Brady talk about like how his mentality was like in the game, where he wasn't friends with the guys on the other team. He didn't want to mess with the guys on the other team. He wasn't dancing with guys on the other team. Like that was kind of like, and again, I'm not saying I was right. I mean, I lost games too. I was not perfect. I was not some sort of God, but like I just, when we're like a really angry football team, like what Urban used to get us gassed up, like when we were real good in like 14, that Bama game, like, I mean, they were angry. Like, I mean, like the power went out at the insane asylum and they let the Buckeyes come out and play and, go see the big bad Crimson Tide and whoop them. So, I just think that's where I like to be at. And that was my space is, we're not coming there to chill and be buddies and whatever, but I mean, like I didn't want to mess with Michigan guys. I didn't want to be friends with them. And that was kind of my mentality. And it was a lot of our mentalities because, like it's not a game. I mean, it's, you lose that game and you go from, again, if Ohio State would have scored at the end of that game where Donnie Jackson got tripped and Kyle McCord threw a pick, like we're the 1 seed in the playoffs, going to play Alabama in the Rose Bowl. And we've got it all in front of us. But, when we needed it the most, we couldn't get it done, which was tough. Yeah, I think Kyle's got a lot of room to grow. What's up, Tora? Tora's my dude. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being in here always. Appreciate all you regulars in here. I got a boy from Portsmouth who was on here, so shout out Southern Ohio, Portsmouth, the crew. Appreciate you guys. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Again, I love saying that because it's always cool to see like where we get these concentrations of people. We get a lot of Southern Ohio boys on here. Florida, all through Ohio, Canton, Massillon. Massillon won the state title, so congrats to the Tigers. But I think this is a big offseason for Ryan. I think it's going to be interesting to see what we do with our our portal stuff, because I've heard some names in the portal that would shock you guys that we're lining up meetings with, and can't go with it yet. But there are some names you guys would be like, oh wow, like that'd be a big one. And there are positions that are really, really important on the football field. So I'm not trying to get it too gassed up, but this isn't a game. Again, Ryan Day knows that everything has to roll through the quarterback room. And, when we've got a dominant quarterback, then we can turn it up and be really, really good. And if we don't have a dominant quarterback, then it's a little bit tougher. Make sure I didn't miss any of these. Buck, thank you for the Buck, Joe Harn. Sorry, Mr. Brother. Appreciate you. I think I got all you guys. Okay, good. Super chats are starting to come in. So if you guys have a question, send me a super chat. Who do you guys want as our starting quarterback next year? Put that down in the comments, because I love seeing like kind of your thoughts. It's weird because Kyle McCord literally was 6 points away from beating Michigan and being undefeated, and I still don't feel like he has the support of the fan base. And again, maybe it's just because it's so raw. The Michigan loss is so raw, and he did not play great. Sean, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sworn to secrecy on some of these, but this is as much as I can do. I mean, it's very tough. And again, because some of it is conjecture and some of it is just, it's rumor. So if it doesn't come true, then, I look like like a whatever, but there's some big names. You spill the beans. So you can't see. I thought we were getting Cam Ward, and I had to stop thinking it was Cam Ward, the hockey goalie. But I also think that he I got the whole inside scoop on him. Like he turned it down. Like he was the guy that we went after, and Again, that's kind of the law of unintended consequences when you go after some of these guys and some of the people find out about it, then all of a sudden, things get a little sideways at the Woody Hayes. So, um, but Cam Ward he's nasty, but I don't think he's ours. I think he turned it down and kind of is what it is at that point. I like Lane Kiffin. That's a good question. Who would you guys, this is a question I'm dying to ask you guys. So imagine if Ryan Day left the program and went to like the New England Patriots and became their new quarterback coach, or went to the Carolina Panthers. I had an agent reach out to and tell me that was something that was going to happen. I was like, there's no way he's going to the Carolina Panthers, because the Carolina Panthers, for one, they have a little midget quarterback who gets hurt all the time, and then they have David Tepper. And if you guys don't know who David Tepper is, he is literally the richest owner in the NFL, and he's absolutely crazy. He was one of the highest guys up at Goldman Sachs. He's worth about $20 billion, humongous wealth. And he's exceptionally difficult to work for. So, he whacked Frank Wright like 11 games into the season. Like, so it's really tough to go after a guy like that who's, like if you want to work, I mean, you want to work for an owner that's not completely crazy. Like Robert Kraft, I think would be a great owner to work for, but Tepper he's a good dude. But Ryan's always going to be in demand because he's a quarterback guru, man. And I'm telling you, these owners spent all this money. I mean, they gave up a king's ransom to get Bryce Young from the Bears. They gave up DJ Moore. They gave up 2 first-round picks, mid-round picks. I mean, that's a ton to trade up and get a guy who I think is okay. But man, if you take a small quarterback in the modern NFL, the way as talented as these pass rushers are, like you better hope he's made out of adamantium, like Wolverine is in the X-Men, because these guys get hit, man, and they don't get up. I mean, it's a man's league, and you got a practice squad right tackle out there versus Nick Bosa or TJ Watt, man. It doesn't end well for these little quarterbacks. They get hurt a lot. Baker Mayfield was always hurt. I think, you get a bigger, more sturdy guy, add some weight, get a little bit of, it's funny, like Ben Roethlisberger, I talked about having a little bit of a spare tire around your belly to absorb some of the blows. Like, I buy that. Most of these quarterbacks that have longevity, they don't have 6-packs, because they got to be able to absorb some major hits. Tora, appreciate you, my man. Treasure the Tora, always in here killing it. Appreciate you, brother. What up, Kirk? I'm just chilling, watching the FSU scandal. My heart goes out to them. What a bizarre and unreal time to be alive. The level of corruption in sports is at an all-time high. I agree. And again, I don't feel terrible for Florida State, because there's nothing you can do when your starting quarterback gets hurt. It's like if last year CJ Stroud would have got hurt in the Michigan game and we had to start Kyle McCord and he stunk it up versus, Michigan to close the game out. I mean, I get what the committee's done. Again, and again, I think that the SEC has the most powerful commissioner, and they also have the greatest branding and the biggest infomercials. So, how do you leave out the SEC championship when they've dominated the national championship scene for the last 17 years? They've won like 80% of the championships. So I get it, and nobody, like I said, at the end of it came down to the committee saying nobody wants to watch Brock Glenn or the guy who's in front of Brock Glenn, who might be healthy for the playoff game, start and just stink it up against Michigan when you could have had Bama in the SEC championship. Because again, those committee members, their number one thing is they just want to save face. So they don't want to be the ones that, we put in, Florida State with Brock Glenn playing quarterback and we left out Bama. Bama would go in their bowl game and beat somebody like 65-10 or something. And they'll be like, how'd you leave those guys out when they're that good? Nicholas Smith, appreciate you, brother. Have you heard anything about Hayden? I heard he deleted his social media. I assume Dallin Hayden. I mean, I think that he's in line to be our starting running back next year. I really do. I mean, Trey's going to be gone, obviously. I think Dallin's a guy that, they had to make some, Tony Alford and his family had to have some big time talks. And I know that they met, at one of Tony's kids, like dance recitals or something like that. And they were sitting there and they talked and they're all smiles afterwards. And, again, when you're a running back and they're making you redshirt in year 2, it just, it's hard. Like, I don't know why you'd redshirt a guy who's a running back, because, we should never have a 5th-year senior starting at running back at Ohio State ever. Like, our running backs need to be on that 3-and-out trajectory where they go to the NFL after 3 years and they're a 1st or 2nd round pick. Like J.K. Dobbins, like Ezekiel Elliott, like Trey Henderson's about to be. Trey will be at worst a 2nd round pick. I mean, he could sneak into the end of the 1st round. Again, I look at like the top teams in the NFL, like the Kansas City Chiefs. Like imagine if the Chiefs are picking 30th in the draft or 31st or whatever, and they can add Trey Henderson to that offense, like a true weapon. I don't see how you don't do that, because Trey has proven that he's physical, he's tough. His durability has been a big question, but when he's been on the field, he's been just ultra dynamic. He's a guy that we're gonna miss. Frankly, he carried us, and frankly, I wish that he wouldn't have gotten dinged against Michigan because he would have probably been the difference in us winning or losing the game. Keep the questions coming, guys. I know there's a lot of McCord. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that it'll be interesting to see the next 24 hours with Devin. I really do. It's kind of like one of those things where I think Hal McCord and his camp want to be assured that he will be the starter next year, and I think Ryan Day isn't ready to do that. And I think that Devin Brown and his camp want to be assured that there's going to be an open competition. And I don't think Ryan Day, I think Ryan Day always wants open competition, and that's kind of like the rhetoric is that every spot's open in spring ball, and but like, is it open or is it really open? Because you can say, oh yeah, all the spots are open, but like when I was a third and fourth year starter, like nobody was going to take my spot, and when AJ Hawk's a third year starter at linebacker, nobody's going to take AJ's spot. So, is it real or is it fake? And if you say that it's a true open competition, well, then why did Kyle McCord start, every game and play like 97% of the snaps at quarterback this year? Like that'd be my question. What else you guys got? Why is OSU not playing Oregon? I don't know. I mean, there were about a million different scenarios, and I don't think any of them were Missouri, in Dallas. Again, I was seeing Orange Bowl versus Georgia, which would have been great. But I don't know. I mean, I would have loved to see Oregon. Oregon's obviously a dominant team. It would have been interesting to see those guys. Malik, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, brother. If you guys got more questions, send in those super chats. Again, I'm holding it down. I think we're going to try to get Nevada on tonight. Sean Turner. Chow. I think you mean Chun. Sean Turner, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, bro. Kirk, if Ward is not coming, this means, I assume you mean Pat Chun, who's the athletic director at Washington State. Keep it real. Will not be our next AD. I don't know. I don't think that there's any correlation between the two. The AD search has been really interesting because we haven't really heard anything about it in the last few, months. I mean, Gene announced his retirement, and the I think the early favorite was Pat Chun just because he's been here. He's from Ohio, and he's kind of bounced around. He was at Florida Atlantic. He's at Washington now, or excuse me, Washington State. He's done a nice job. But I'm not sure if he's the perfect guy for it, or do you want to go and try to find truly the best athletic director in the country to run Ohio State, or do you want to hire someone who's familiar with the inner workings of the program? And I'm not saying Pat can't grow into it, but he's at Washington State. And Washington State's it's a nice school, and they had a nice year. But I mean, is that truly the best that we can do? I don't know. But again, there's a familiarity deal, but he hasn't been here in a long time, so I think a lot of the people that are really familiar with him have moved on. I mean, we've gone through three presidents since he's been here, and we got a different coach since Urban and Truss. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I saw that. I mean, Georgia versus FSU. That is they call that the almost bowl, where they almost made it. They didn't make it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. What bowl games are you guys excited about? Put those in there, because like I looked at it. I'm gonna look at the schedule right now. Penn State got Ole Miss. I saw. I think Michigan they're gonna get absolutely dog walked by Bama. Yeah, that Georgia Florida State game, that'll be a real one. That'll be good. Are you guys excited? Liberty's playing Oregon. Oh my God. Yeah, if you guys have any bank that you can get loans from to put money on, the money line for Oregon versus Liberty, I'd do it. Every dollar you could ever dream of putting on that one. And they still haven't announced a bunch of the bowl games, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think that the Cotton Bowl will be good. I don't know if you guys have been to the Cotton Bowl. I went for the Cotton Bowl when he played SC when they had Sam Darnold, and I went to the national championship game. It's cool. It's Jerry World. I mean, it's a good location. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, which it makes it a little less desirable. And plus, it's Dallas for New Year's. Like, I mean, I think people would obviously much rather go to Miami for New Year's. But yeah, I'm excited to see Michigan get rolled. I think that their worst nightmare was getting a hold of Michigan. Yeah, I mean that's what I said. I was like Liberty. Like Liberty is seriously going to play Oregon, in the Fiesta Bowl. I mean that's insane. Um, yeah, like I said, I don't know what the money line is going to be on that, but I'd still put every dime I ever had on that one because Oregon's real. It'll be Bo Nix is a guy he'll play his last game because he's not a high enough NFL guy to sit out, and they're gonna. Liberty's never seen anything like Oregon. I said this, Massillon won the state playoff championship. Hey, congrats. I mean, they've been at the door for a long time. Yeah, that's a great line right there. Oregon will impose tyranny on Liberty. I totally agree with that. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these guys can do. Again, the beautiful thing about this again, folks, is that we are going to be in the playoffs for the rest of time after this year because there'll be a 12-team playoff. I mean, the last time we were outside of the top 12, I think, was in 2011. So we're gonna be we're gonna be in good shape. How do I feel if you're FSU? I mean, obviously you feel like you got jobbed. I mean, you won all your games. You beat LSU. I mean, I think they got 3 SEC wins. They beat Florida. Their defense is amazing. I mean, their defense was balling. They had like 7 sacks last night, big time defense. But again, it's the quarterback. I mean, you can't put Brock Glenn in against Michigan. And again, like, I think that they had it done, and they were going with the thought that an undefeated conference champion has never not made the playoffs. But I just think that they needed more style points last night. If they win that game 35-10 or 42-10, which they couldn't do just because they couldn't move the ball, then it's probably a different conversation today. And they're probably in, and Bama's probably out. But it was a slog, and they weren't going for the jugular. Again, Urban Meyer, one of the 2 greatest coaches of all time, him and Nick Saban, literally talked about going into that Wisconsin game, how they had to put it on Wisconsin. Like it couldn't be 14-3, couldn't be 21-10. It's like, no, they had to drop the hammer on Wisconsin, and they did. And he coached like that, and he's throwing the ball deep. And hey, and that Wisconsin team, I believe they were favored. I mean, they had Melvin Gordon, TJ Watt, like they had like legitimate NFL dudes on that team, and we just dropped the hammer on them. And when you do that, you're dealing with a bunch of politicos that are making these decisions. There's like 3 football coaches, and then there's a bunch of eggheads that are on this committee, and they don't really know good from bad, up from down, but they can look at a box score, and when it says, number 5 or 6 Ohio State versus number 3 or 4 Wisconsin, and we beat them 59-0, that resonates at a much higher level than us slogging versus a terrible Louisville team that couldn't move the ball. And I mean, I couldn't believe that Louisville team beat Notre Dame, and that was shocking to me, but they did. But I think that that's part of the deal when you're in these playoffs, is that you get you get some of these matchups, and they're crazy. Couple more super chats coming in. If you guys got any questions, hit me with them super chats, and I will answer them. Again, Nevada is traveling, so we'll likely get back. See, I don't think Michigan can win the Natty. I don't think you guys are gonna get past. We got a bunch of Michigan people in here. I think Bama. I think Bama's gonna dog walk those guys. I really believe it. Devin Brown in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, if he's here, again, this is gonna be an interesting 48 hours for them. So I think there's gonna be a lot of guys hitting the portal tomorrow, if not tonight. It's gonna be really interesting to see kind of where everything goes. So, well, I think I'm going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate you guys, as always, kicking it with us. I'll probably get on a little bit later, watch some of this Browns game. But again, appreciate you guys supporting the channel, as always. Thank you. We got a bunch of new Scoop Ultra members, so we appreciate you guys joining that. We're going to do a Scoop Ultra chat in the next couple of weeks. It'll just be for Scoop Ultra members. So hurry up and join that. It'll be really cool, really fun. We're going to have some new members on here. I see a question about Jim Knowles and Duke. I don't think that he's going to be the guy at Duke. I'd be shocked by that, actually, but I've been shocked before. But if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, thank you guys so much for kicking it with us. And you guys make the show just an absolute dream to do. It's a blast. So thank you guys as always. So thank you, Buckeye Scoop Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys probably tonight. Nevada gets in. So keep an eye on the bat signal to go up. We'll probably go around 10 if he gets home. And we'll just we'll crank out and get his thoughts on the playoffs. So thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys later on. Go Bucks.